seasons, averaging 25 points on 50-40 shooting. Take one guess when he did that. The answer is he's done it the last 3 years. That streak is active. In fact, in the 5 seasons since he tore his Achilles, KD has averaged 28 points on 53% shooting, 42% from three. He remains what he has always been, a bucket, maybe the best pure scorer that ever lived. But there's so much more to his game. Over the last 2 seasons, KD has 119 steals and 168 blocks. There are a total of three other players who have amassed as many of both. And Durant has also put the D in KD. Follow this stat with me. There were 209 players who last year were the closest defender on at least 500 shots. KD's field goal allowance was 9th among those, 9th out of 209. He's literally doing everything on the floor. But Greeny, you're going to say, his team was awful. Not when he was playing, it wasn't. In the 62 games he played last year, the Suns were 33-29. They went 3-17 without him. The point of all of this, in case it isn't clear, is that like his contemporaries, LeBron and Steph, KD has not significantly slowed down. Plus, he's younger than both of them, 6 months younger than Curry, almost 4 years younger than James. So now I'm hearing there are teams like, say, the Knicks, who reportedly think they're better off without this guy? To quote Mark Twain again, get your facts first, then you can distort them as you please. That's how I see it. Let me bring my basketball crew back into the conversation for this. Here come McNutt and Alan Hahn. I've been waiting for them all morning long. Windman, I'll start with you in a hotel room in Indiana right now, sitting on an end table with a pillow on it, trying to make yourself comfortable in a crowded room. What do you make of my Durant numbers?
Yeah, I think a lot of teams agree with you, Greeny. I just for the nuance here, I don't think it's that people don't want Durant. I think the disagreement is what Durant wants and what the price to pay for a soon-to-be 37-year-old who is probably going to want a 2-year, $120 million extension. That's the issue. In the case of the Knicks, because you brought them up, it's more that what they have on their roster would be so impacted by a Durant trade. And so, you know, there's nuance in there, but if you're asking me whether if I talk to people in the league, people believe that Kevin Durant is still an elite player, the answer is yes, they do.
Okay, good. Because what I was hearing sitting here yesterday was Durant is now an auxiliary piece. Durant is now a 1B. Durant is now a guy that needs to be teamed with another superstar to have a chance to win. And in the NBA today, that's true of literally everyone. What I wanted to demonstrate with Hembo's work, and again, we work on these things together completely in tandem, is that every single metric, every way of measuring a player's performance suggests that Kevin Durant remains among the very best players in the NBA. And to just turn your nose up at the chance of getting that in the name of some team chemistry we think we're building or something like that feels to me like a very arrogant move. This is an all-time great player who is still in his prime.
He air quoted team chemistry.
Well, basically talking to us, right?
Like they're staring at us with
continuity. Okay.
I get it.
I can't take it. Look,
I'm going to give you the one number that matters most to everybody that's involved in this situation.
Go.
Age. That's the concern, because although LeBron James keeps blasting through those glass ceilings about age and showing you that even at 40 you can still play at the highest level in the sport, there does come a point where the drop-off happens, and it's never a slow drop. It is a plummet. Usually that's what happens. You are waiting for it for somebody like Kevin Durant. But he isn't doing it because he's such an efficient scorer. The problem that I think right now you have is what Windy said. I think the Knicks would love to have them on the roster.
Agree.
They would love to have him in the starting lineup with a guy like Jalen Brunson. The problem is you can't anymore in today's NBA make a trade like that and still have a team left to play. Case in point, Phoenix Suns. They got him. They were going to build a super team. The problem was it's 3 guys and no one else. You can't do that, and so it's not possible. I don't think the extension is even part of the problem. I think it's the cost of bringing him in with a trade, because you've already done a 2-for-1 for Cat.
Yep.
Now you'd have to do a 2-for-1 for him. You're running out of players. It's just not feasible.
The cost of him only accentuates your point, Greeny. Like, you understand that he's still a viable number 1, number 2 option, whatever you want to say, in terms of a team trying to go on a championship run. I think it is the cost because of the numbers that you pointed out.
And quick point out, Golden State got him because of a loophole.
Yes.
That's how you were
They
able to make
just
that
signed him.
super team.
He became a free
Loophole.
agent, and they were able to sign him in the 1 year where the TV contracts exploded the salary cap,
Right.
and it was a 1 year blip, and it wound up being what it was. And I think it has completely shaped the narrative around Durant's career from that point forward, mostly in a negative
Unfair.
way, which is what it is. Now, Winman, you also pointed out something else, because I keep bringing up the Knicks. Everyone else sitting here yesterday, including you, Monica, were bringing up Minnesota and the possibility of him teaming up with Anthony Edwards. Wendy, what did you tell us was said yesterday that didn't pick up as much traction as it should?
Well, my colleague Mark Spears, who is very plugged into everything in the NBA, reported yesterday on NBA Today that Ant Edwards, who is very close with Kevin Durant from last year's Olympic team, looks at him as an idol. He is not actively recruiting Durant. He is not a part of this process. He's in Atlanta doing his off-season workouts. He's not involved. And, you know, I'm not going to speak or have conjecture as to why. I know that Ant, and that having been around the Olympic team last year, I know that Ant would defer to Kevin on just about everything. And if Kevin doesn't want to be in Minnesota, which has been articulated, I could see Ant not putting pressure on him. But, you know, I know a lot of people say, well, why wouldn't Durant just want to go be with Ant because they're such a devastating force together? That was in important context that Spears reported.
So that's an interesting one, too.
Yeah, I kind of like that. It's a little bit of an ode to the old school, I would say, in terms of we know how much pride Anthony Edwards took in knocking the Suns out a season ago in terms of the postseason. Like, it's a little bit of a tip of the cap to the way it used to be in terms of not necessarily teaming up and being able to appreciate the opportunity to compete. Now, I do agree with Wendy. If KD said this is what we're going to do, I think there would be a different conversation. But I kind of appreciate that Ant has just kind of held it down and been like, I'm going to figure it out one way or another with or without you.
Yeah, I'm not going to chase you, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to sweat it. If you want to come play here, great. If you don't, then he'll have fun competing against him. I think for Kevin Durant right now, there are other options. At least he hopes so or thinks so. I just don't know if there's that big of a market right now. And it, again, has nothing to do with greatness. Everything you said there, I completely agree with. Numbers, efficiency, everything about him. But I think the market is not going to be there for him for what he might want and also what Phoenix might want. They might have to trade him to at a price that people will be shocked about how low it is for a guy of his level and his
Greeny,
start.
let me add one more stat.
Go, Wendy.
Let me add one more stat, Greeny. He has missed at least 20 games in 6 of the last 7 years. So he did play 62 games this year and 75 the year before. Some of that is, you know, a legacy of the Achilles, but he has missed a lot of games as he's gotten into his mid to late 30s.
Yeah, I mean, that is part of the conversation. As I mentioned, he played the 62 this year. They had a record that was 4 games over 500 in those games that he played. In the 20 that he missed, they were 3-17. I will be very interested to see what happens with Durant. Meanwhile, we'll all be interested to see what happens in Game 6 of the NBA Finals. That's tomorrow night. We'll have